There's a lot of hype about AI in the ERP software space, but is any of it real? Is it really materializing? That's what we're going to talk about here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world with their digital transformation journeys, including their evaluation of potential software options, implementation planning, as well as implementation support, including change management as well. And one of the common things we're hearing from clients right now is this dilemma between needing to replace their ERP software, needing to leverage or wanting to leverage AI software, and figuring out how those two technologies can potentially coexist. So what I want to do today is talk about the reality of where we stand here in 2025 with the world of AI and ERP together. And I also want to expose some of the myths and some of the things that vendors don't want you to hear. So be sure to stay tuned to the end of the video because I'll share the things about AI that software vendors don't want you to know. One of the most common questions we get from clients that are asking our team to help them with the evaluation and selection process of new technologies, one of the common questions we get is this whole AI embedded in ERP thing real? Is it all hype? Are companies actually using AI? Do ERP vendors actually have AI capabilities? And the answer is sort of. It's sort of a mixed bag. And so what I want to do is talk a little bit about where we're starting to see some traction in valid use cases of clients actually using AI in their businesses and in their ERP environments. I think if I were to summarize, I'd say that the most common low-hanging fruit that we're seeing right now is using AI in an ERP setting where there's high volumes of data and or high volumes of transactions and or high volumes of analysis required. So if you think about something like a manufacturer that needs to run an MRP, material resource plan, to figure out what raw materials to buy and when, how to get it to their shop floor at the right time so that they can produce and manufacture the products that their customers want when they want them. There's a lot of work that goes into that. And ERP software providers and ERP systems have historically struggled with that entire function because there's so much data that needs to be considered both internally to the organization and externally as well. We're also seeing AI being used in situations where you might have finance closes or really manual processes around a financial period end close. When you think about quoting proposals for a sales rep, that's another area where AI can help streamline and speed up some of those processes. And then in supply chain management, with complex global supply chains and tariffs and trade wars and physical wars, geopolitical issues throughout the world, managing supply chains is becoming a lot more complex than it used to be. And it requires a lot of knowledge, a lot of data that no one human can process themselves. And that's another area where AI is starting to really make it different, and make a dent in the use of ERP systems. But I think the biggest area that we're seeing AI have an impact with ERP systems is on the user interface side. And this is something that a lot of people don't talk about. We talk about how AI can be generative and create analysis or create master data or help complete transactions and things of that nature. But where we really see a lot of low-hanging fruit is just on the user interface side. You have these old clunky ERP systems that people are used to using. Now you've got AI prompts that you can just simply ask the system to provide whatever information you want. You think about your people in your organization and how often they have to go dig up information and figure out how to run or build a report to get the information they want. AI is largely taking a lot of that away to where you can just converse with AI and get the information you need. So that's probably the biggest impact we're seeing in the short term is on the user interface side of things. So these are just a few examples of how we're seeing AI in use, but what I want to do next is talk about the impact it's having to businesses, because there is a dark side of AI that a lot of us aren't talking about right now. So for as cool as AI is, and for all the potential it has from a technological perspective, there's some really bad news I want to share with you, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that is that it's going to disrupt and impact your people in a potentially negative way in the short term, in a way that you've never seen before. And the reason we're starting to see signs of this is because even though AI has a lot of potential, it's also very disruptive. It's going to change and completely transform people's jobs in ways that may create a lot of anxiety. So let me give you an example, an actual use case of how people's jobs are being impacted by AI. I mentioned before how AI is automating and streamlining a lot of processes. You have people within your organization, I imagine, that have grown up and become accustomed to using complicated spreadsheets and going out and finding data and really thriving in your business with the use of heroics. They've got tribal knowledge and brute force that they can use to power through, and despite not having access or easy access to data, despite not having great tools, they've been able to create that spreadsheet or that workflow that only they know, that's going to allow them to do what they need to do with the organization. And it's made those people highly valuable in your organization. Ask yourself this: do you have anyone in your organization that you just wouldn't want to lose? Not just because they're good people and you don't want to lose anyone, but because they know so much in their head about a certain process and they're sort of a single point of failure within the organization. Now, from a business perspective and a leadership perspective, you think one way to mitigate that risk is to put in automation and tools that reduce our dependency on that one person. And that probably is the right answer from a business perspective. But if you're that person that's affected, you are going to be highly threatened by that. Now, all of a sudden, instead of me seeing this as a positive because my job is getting easier, I'm starting to see this as a threat, because now the organization isn't going to value me as much potentially, and they're not going to commend me for my heroics and my tribal knowledge and all the things I do despite my crappy technology. Now all of a sudden I'm not as valuable to the organization, and that's a real fear that we're starting to see a lot of. Not only that, but a lot of people grew up in a time in the 80s, especially like myself. You're used to viewing robots and artificial intelligence and technology in general a little apprehensively. It's almost like we don't trust robots and we don't trust AI, and that's a real thing. People might be excited on the surface about what AI can do, but underneath it all, they are going to be more threatened and more disrupted by AI in ways that we've never seen before. Implementing an ERP system and the changes involved with that are nothing compared to what people are about to experience with AI. And if you're implementing both ERP with AI, now all of a sudden you've just magnified exponentially the impact to the organization. You've increased the opportunities and the likelihood of change resistance, and you've created a lot of fear, uncertainty, doubt, and in some cases panic and chaos within organizations that's going to make these implementations very difficult. And this is why change management is so important. This is good news perhaps for change management practitioners and people that value and are good at change management. But for those of you that aren't good at change management, or if you don't like it, you're going to want to get very good at change management, because you're going to need a lot of it, even more than you ever have in the past with past ERP implementations. You're going to need a ton of change management now to be successful. So not only is change management more important than ever, but next I want to share with you a dark secret that the ERP vendors don't want you to know. So here's what ERP software vendors don't want you to know. If you're a software vendor, you work for one, I'd stop watching right now. And if you are about to buy or deploy ERP software, for sure keep watching. And that dirty little secret is that you don't have to upgrade your ERP system to get all these AI capabilities that I'm talking about in this video. You don't have to rip out SAP's ECC and put in S/4HANA. You don't have to rip out Microsoft Dynamics and replace it with Microsoft D365 just to get AI capabilities. The vendors will try to convince you to do that. SAP, for example, won't really let you get the full AI capabilities that they've developed unless you've upgraded to S/4HANA. But you don't have to upgrade to S/4HANA. You can use your legacy systems and still use AI incrementally and get some value immediately. And that's the secret they don't want you to know. There are a ton of upstart AI providers that are tech agnostic, that will operate with other ERP systems, including old on-premise ERP systems. You don't have to be on the newest, sexiest cloud version of a software to get the value out of AI. You do, however, need to have somewhat up-to-date systems. If you're running off an old mainframe, it's probably going to be a little more difficult to leverage AI in that setting. But if you're on a 10 or 15 or 20-year-old on-premise system that's web-based, you're probably going to be able to leverage AI in some way to get some value out of that. And if you think about it, what the vendors want you to do is they want you to go through this big, long, painful ERP implementation before you ever get the value from AI. And what happens if you have trouble or it takes forever for you to deploy that ERP system, which happens a lot? A lot of projects go over budget, take longer than expected, and then what? Do you just put off the need or the want for AI? I'd say that's not a good idea. And I think that AI on its own, standalone AI solutions, are going to deliver a lot more business value in ROI than an ERP system embedded with AI, especially if you've got an ERP system that's not broken. If it's an old legacy system that's been around for 10 or 20 years, may not be perfect, but if it works good enough, and the real value is going to come from putting some AI agents in place and some generative AI tools to arm your team with better tools within their current environment, that's going to give you more immediate value. It's going to cost you less. It's going to be less risk. It's going to be less disruption to your people. So there's a whole host of reasons why you might want to consider, as part of your digital strategy and roadmap, how to get immediate value out of AI without necessarily needing to go through a big, massive ERP overhaul or a big, massive, expensive digital transformation. Now, you may want to do that. If that's your strategy and that's what you're planning to do all along, then by all means do it. But if you're feeling the pressure of wanting to leverage AI and the only way you feel like you can do it is if you spend millions of dollars on a new ERP system, I'd rethink that and challenge that assumption. And again, the software vendor industry in the ERP space, CRM space, supply chain solution space, they're probably going to tell you you need to upgrade to their ERP system to really get the full value of AI, but that's also going to cost you a lot of time, money, and risk as well. So I hope this has provided you some thoughts around how to think about AI in the context of ERP. I encourage you to download two assets, two guides that will help you in your decision making here. One is going to be our digital transformation report. It's a report we publish each year, and it covers a number of trends and best practices, independent software reviews, and rankings that will help you through your evaluation and digital strategy planning process. You can download that by scanning the QR code right here or go to the links below. You can also download our guide to AI strategy and implementation. And in this guide, you'll learn about how you can identify opportunities for AI within your organization and how you can embed AI into your overall digital strategy, whether it's part of an ERP implementation or whether it's on its own. You can find that by scanning the QR code or go to the links below. So I hope you found this information useful and I hope you have a great day. ERP thing real? Or is, let me start that over, okay.